Twitter has lit up, actually all of social media. In fact, many playing judge and jury regarding the domestic violence allegations against Johnny Depp via Amber Heard. Now, this also follows the news of their divorce. So it has gotten really ugly. Let's start with the allegations. So Amber Heard, according to TMZ and the court documents, she is accusing Johnny Depp of smashing his iPhone against her face. She also showed up to court for the restraining order with the clear bruising. A source for the Los Angeles Police Department told TMZ that the officers had no reason to believe Depp struck her. They said that they did not see any injuries. She was also tagged in an Instagram photo the next day that showed no evidence of injury. And then sources close to Amber Heard's camp, as well as her team, her lawyers, are suggesting that stating rather that the LAPD are protecting Johnny Depp because they have been hired previous times to be his security detail. Okay, so that's one part of the story. Also, Amber Heard, in her request for the restraining order, she stated this: "I live in fear that Johnny will return to our home unannounced to terrorize me, physically and emotionally. There also has been several prior incidents of domestic violence with Johnny. In particular, there was one severe incident in December 2015 when I truly feared that my life was in danger." Now, the judge did award her this restraining order. So Johnny Depp has to stay within, or cannot be within 100 feet of Amber Heard. And also, she accused him of a substance abuse problem. She asked the judge to make sure that he goes to anger management. The judge turned down that request. And finally, Johnny Depp's camp, they have issued a number of statements. I will read one, and then we can talk about some of the other ones. They issued this statement: "Given the brevity of this marriage and the most recent and tragic loss of his mother, Johnny will not respond to any of the salacious false stories, gossip, misinformation, and lies about his personal life. Hopefully, the dissolution of the short marriage will be resolved quickly." So social media had a number of different hashtags. Either I stand with Amber, or I stand with Johnny. Some people vilifying Amber Heard, some people vilifying Johnny Depp. We have to remember that in this case, because people have come out of the woodwork supporting both sides. We see that there's been 3 exes of Johnny Depp's and his daughter saying, listen, he's not violent, as well as his friends. He's not violent. This cannot be Johnny Depp. She's lying. That's what they're saying. And then you have people from Amber Heard's camp claiming that they have seen her being abused in the past.
The first thing to say is you don't get to back Johnny Depp because you like Pirates of the Caribbean. Like, a lot of people swarm to Johnny Depp's support, and the reason they do so is because they like him in movies. And that's not a valid reason to support him in a domestic violence case. There's plenty of other reasons that you can come in and say, like, I don't have enough evidence one way or another, but the one thing that drives me crazy is when people say, I'm with Johnny, he's a good actor. Yeah. Like, that's not a thing.
He's a good guy and they don't know him.
You've never met him before.
Right.
It's just especially interesting because, I mean, Johnny Depp is that exactly the kind of guy that you would assume is, like, kind of crazy, and might have a substance abuse problem.
Well, he's talked openly about that.
And he has, yeah, exactly. But then at the same time, you have this overwhelming amount of evidence of people talking on behalf of both parties, in support of both parties. And it's just weird, like, to enact judgment so quickly, though, is what I really hate about this story. And that's Doug Stanhope did, who's a close friend of Johnny's, wrote an awesome piece on The Wrap, and Amir thinks it's confirmation bias because he thinks that, like, I'm siding with Johnny Depp when I'm not. But I think
damn you, Amir.
Yeah, I think the important point that he made there was that we can't just go out and start vilifying people before, innocent until proven guilty, before he's tried in court. We can't just, and these things consistently keep happening.
I get why he would want to, like, if there was allegations against Brett, I've known Brett for a long enough time, and I consider him like a dear enough friend that I would want to protect him. So I agree with you, the mass public, the court of public opinion needs to wait, especially because there's so much conflicting evidence and so many, 2 different stories, and then there's the truth. But if it's your dear friend, I get why he would want to protect his dear friend, because I would want to stand up for you or one of my other really close friends.
But it seemed more to me than just someone saying, like, he's a good guy. He genuinely pointed out instances where he had seen abuse from both ends, and he also said, most importantly, that the whole concept of the emperor has no clothes, but you don't want to really tell him that because he's the emperor. I really like that because we've all been in, we've all been in abusive relationships, or we've all had friends that have been in abusive relationships, and you see it from afar, and you realize like this person is definitely in a shitty relationship, but I can't tell them that because I don't want to be the villain. I don't want to lose this friend.
Yeah.
So I totally get where he was
Right.
coming from, and I can't help but feel like, I don't know. It's just I can't help but feel like there's too much evidence on Johnny Depp's side as well.
On
Wait,
both
that
sides.
doesn't make sense. Wait, too much evidence for what?
Oh, too much evidence pointing towards.
You're saying it cancels out?
testimony. I'm saying like there's so much testimony. That
he's being falsely accused.
That
in
he's
your
being
opinion.
falsely accused. Yeah.
Grace? What do you think?
Well, I didn't. That was kind of a curveball.
Yeah,
I
'cause
was
that's-
with you.
I
I
was
will
with
say
you
that I was
completely
with you
until
to the Ember Has No Clothes. We've all seen Friends in Beautiful Relation. I was like, yes,
Yes, that
yes.
happened.
And so Johnny Depp there, blah, and I was like, no.
Like you just put out a case for why we should reserve judgment,
right,
and then you judge.
what I was going to
Sorry,
say.
Grace hasn't spoken yet.
You're
What
right.
I was going to say is that we should reserve judgment, and that's what I'm agreeing with that half of what you were saying, and I'm also agreeing with what you were saying, Brett. With we need to reserve judgment, and we need to realize what it is okay to discuss and what isn't, what shouldn't be a factor. For example, Johnny Depp's acting career, his public persona shouldn't be a factor. Another thing that I would like to point out, Amber Heard being bisexual or having relationships with women should not be pointed out. There are
And
a lot
some
of
people have. You're right.
And a lot of people have
Really?
been
Right?
a
Yep.
lot of people have been bringing that up, that maybe it's making him jealous or something. And so I think that as
Calling her promiscuous.
Yeah, and none of that makes people jealous. People are jealous,
right.
or they're not,
So in
and
the
they
court-
find reasons to act out on it.
in the court of public opinion, which I think we can kind of say that we are being voices of right now, in the court of public opinion, I would urge people to not lose sight of what matters in this case, what is substantial, and what we shouldn't speculate on. And yeah, it's just going to be a kind of a wait and see thing, but let's respect that both sides have their story, and like Sam was saying, the truth is somewhere.
Yeah,
in the
like
middle.
what's this all for at the end of the day? Like, is it how, I mean, they shouldn't be together anymore. It seems like very shortly into the relationship, they were like, we shouldn't be together. And so break up. And if it's a matter of like how much of the Johnny Depp estate she's entitled to, they were together. I mean,
Well,
can't we just...
fortunately, California law makes it so that she is only going to be entitled to what he made while they were married.
Well,
so all of this stuff from Pirates of the Caribbean, that's not any of her.
Right.
But does
but
it work out
she-
the way that like contracts do with talent agencies, where it's like anything that arose from an original deal before versus, is ours, or
yeah,
is it
who
like
knows?
he signed his five picture, Pirates of the Caribbean deal? Is she not entitled to the part of the $200 million that she made this year?
I don't-
But above that in importance is like, just get away from each other.
Right.
This is clearly a toxic relationship.
And there's no kids involved. You're right. There's no kids involved. I
There's
know.
dogs.
There's dogs.
There's
I-
dogs, and then
Adorable
there's
little
I think what is it called, the spousal.
That's what I was going to respond to.
Spousal support. Yeah,
she was
spousal
denied spousal support.
Yeah.
And according to Johnny Depp's camp, they believe that this is her ploy. In their words, this is her ploy to get more money from him, because if you can show evidence of abuse, the judge will be more lenient in his decision or her decision to award you spousal support.
Yeah.
Now, again, what we've done in the past when we've talked about Kesha, because I do tend to believe victims. I do. And that's something that I need to look at as a case-by-case basis. And what I try and do is I always look at the history. And in this case, it's such a convoluted history. You have so many people supporting Johnny Depp. You have so many people supporting Amber Heard. You have people that Johnny Depp lived with for 14 years, one of his relationships, where they can attest that he was never violent. So for that reason, like in other scenarios, when we look at people's past behaviors, or if they have a past of domestic violence, then I will be quick to, because I want to support victims, because I know how hard it is to come out, and I know that there's a small percentage of false accusations. But when you look at past behavior, I think that can give you a little bit of an indicator. And here, it's tough to decide. Therefore, I do think that in this case specifically, it's best to really refrain from any sort of judgment.
Did anyone, when they got together, say to themselves, oh, this is going to work out?
No.
Johnny Depp and Amber Heard, ending his like 15-year
Vanessa
relationship with
Paradis, yeah.
in France where they lived in alleged bliss.
And then when they broke up for like a brief moment, and then Johnny Depp was dating a couple other models, and then they got back together.
But like, I just wonder, like, and I was never like, yeah, this sounds like a really good relationship where they met filming The Rum Diaries and they're gonna be together
the hit
forever.
movie, The Rum Diaries.
I
Yeah,
think the
which
saddest,
is fine.
the saddest part about all of this, though, is watching how extreme people can be. I understand that people are going to have their opinion. That's now with social media. Everyone feels like it's their right. But there's a difference between trying like to look at both sides of the story and then people completely vilifying her without knowing the facts. And same with Johnny Depp without knowing the facts. And I think seeing that extremism and that mob mentality that exists on social media is frightening. Just read some of those tweets.
Yeah.
It's scary because then if she really is the victim, she's being
Right.
vilified.
She's getting
If-
threats.
If he really is being falsely accused, it's ruining his reputation, and it's terrible.
Especially if it does end up becoming some sort of a criminal trial, then the court of public opinion will influence, because it's such a public case that it'll influence the jury.
Absolutely.
Like that's one of the things I hate about all of these other, like in the case of How to Make Making a Murderer with Stephen Avery, where the entire jury was basically tainted, and you only have so many people that you can take off of it before you're stuck with the jury that you're stuck with. And when everyone has already made up their minds, especially in in the media, and people are influenced by other people's decisions, how can you enact judgment in a way where you're unbiased and you can just look at the facts?
But is it
Final
in a divorce? Is it a jury? Like, I don't know.
No.
If
That's
this becomes
civil,
a
but I'm saying
criminal
if
case.
it was
This turns into
criminal
like a
case,
trial.
because
Right.
I don't know. I think I don't know if this is ever going to go to like a criminal trial, but like I totally get you on like a judge being like, a lot of times judges try to make a point one way or another, because that's what rulings are, even if it's not like
enacting judgment.
even if they're setting precedents.
Yeah.
And hopefully they sometimes they take a case and set a big example for it. I don't know what the ruling's gonna be, but like I think at the end of the day, no one get like freaked out about this relationship you weren't in. I mean, yes, you can talk about it. It's two big figures in the media going at it, but at the end of it, we're just happy that if they're not happy together, they're not together.
But I think,
And if he indeed is suffering from substance abuse, or if he did abuse her, that he gets the help that he needs, and vice versa if she's falsely accusing him, that there is some sort of repercussion. So I do hope that a thorough investigation takes place, and I do hope that justice is served one way or another. Please keep the conversation going, and we'll see you next time on Pop Trigger.